Okay, so next let's build a wing half. Okay, so let's pop out a spar. Bam. We'll pop out a leading and trailing edge, just like that. Okay, we'll pop out 2 center ribs. You'll notice that the center ribs in between them, it's almost like a tall cross there. So just pop out 2 of those, that's all you need. And then we will pop out the rest of the ribs here. So we need 5 regular ribs per wing half. I had to stop and count because the Papillon has a longer wing and takes more ribs. And I've slept since I drew this. Okay, so let's pop out all the vent holes. Get them out of here. If you don't pop these out beforehand, there's a chance you could run some glue into them and you will not get them out if that glue gets in there. I know, I've done it. Get all those out of there. Okay, the most important thing about building these wings is making sure you build a left and a right. Okay, the center of the wing will always have these larger, wider pieces. The wingtips are skinnier. The center spar is a left and a right. As you can see, that's at 90 degrees. That's your wingtip. The 90-degree part is your wingtip. The other end, focus, is at the correct angle for your dihedral to fly this as a rudder and elevator only. So this needs to go to the middle. These need to go to the middle. So lay your parts out the way they should go. And we will start with the 3rd rib in, which is a standard rib, full size. Slide it in the slot. Excuse me. Start with the center spar first. Too used to building our other wings. It'll be a snug fit. Just be gentle with it. It'll fit in there. You can use your building board to help push it down flat. And we will do that all the way out to the tip rib. Okay, there's that one. All of our Wii series wings build exactly like this. So if you can build this wing, you can build any of the constant chord Wii series that we have and will be coming out. The Papillon wing builds exactly the same. The Duster wing builds the same. The Wii Tabria builds the same. Oh, we haven't released that one yet. Yeah, the constant chord Wii series wings all build the same. Okay, center rib. Double check to make sure we got our dihedral in the middle. Only put one of those in there. Okay, that's all just dry fit for right now. The wingtip rib and the very center rib we kind of save for last. So what we'll do now is we'll line these up on the leading edge. Slide those all in place. And now all the self-jigging and the tolerance stack-ups are starting to pay off, because look, and we'll do the same with the trailing edge. Take your time. Don't force it. Once you have it lined up, it should just slide right in. Okay, there we go. That wing does not have a drop of glue on it yet. You want to double check to make sure it's perfectly straight, which it is. And once you do that, start gluing. My darn glue tip's plugged up again. We'll trim that off a little. Use a capillary tube, thin CA. You won't regret it. It's worth the 20 cents or so for each one. Okay. It don't take much. I like to do the center spar first. We'll do that side. Then I like to come back, put a drop on each rib, each leading and trailing edge. And just, as you go, make sure you're fully seated. Okay. I was off just a little on one, but it'll be okay. Just a tiny drop is all it needs on each one of these, and if you do it just right, you can see it wicking all the way around. Okay, so we've got now about out of glue. Time for a new glue bottle. That one's getting hard to manage. Okay. All right. Oh, got some on my fingers. All right, we're reloaded with glue now. This will go a lot quicker, a lot easier. So then come back on each side of the joint, each joint, put a drop. And we'll do the other side of the ribs. Like that. Be careful, because some of that glue's still wet. Wow. It's setting off good today. Fumes are getting to me. All right, center rib. We'll cover that. Well, let's do the tip rib. It's the easiest one. Yep. Even though it's not completely self-aligning, it mostly is. So the first one you want to do is the center, carefully. Make sure it's fully seated. And then the other two pretty much just fall right into place. Once you have that in there, take a drop of glue. Nozzle's leaking a little bit. Boy. Okay. That's good. Okay, now we'll get back to the center rib. The center center spar has this angle, so when we slide it on there, you'll see it's got the right angle built in. Just make sure it's flush against that center spar, and your center ribs will fit in your leading and trailing edges just like that. Once you have that in place, put a drop on each joint. And you're good to go. Okay. So, let's do a wingtip. Where's my wingtip parts? Okay. These are your wingtips on the Wee Willie. All the wingtips pretty much go together the same way. This one's a little bit different. Make sure you sand it nice and smooth. This is one of those exceptions where you sand it before you put it on. That's pretty simple. You line up the front. The radius part of it will go forward. You line it up on the end. Always try to make sure the leading edge is lined up. All right. Make sure it's flat against the table. And run you some glue on the joints. Wait a second. Make sure glue got in all the way. Yeah, it did. And I'm going to fire that off because I don't want to stick to it. Okay. So as you can see, it's nice and flat. Now we go back to those two little triangles. This wingtip only needs one, but you'll have to lightly sand that little tick off of there. And you want to line that up right with the main spar, as close as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you get it, the better it looks, especially if you use transparent covering for the wing. But you want to line it up just like that. Put a drop of glue on the joint. Then we'll come back and we'll get the other side with the drop. Okay. That's it. That's your wingtip. Easy. Easy peasy. Okay, we'll do the center section now. Okay, so each center section gets one of the big rectangles. It gets two of the smaller rectangles. Let's see, I'm missing something here. And it gets one of the smaller ones. Do not sand these. Do not sand them until you fit them. Each one will fit just a little bit different. You can see we'll have to sand that one just a little bit. Imagine if we just take off those ticks from the laser. That'd be pretty darn close. Don't force it. It should just slip right in there. I got just a little bit more to go. Not much. Oh, we're real close. This is the most difficult one, so. Just take a little bit of time. Okay. Look at there. That's darn near perfect. Okay, line the sheet up with the edge of the rib and let that fall where it falls. Should be real close to that angle though. Once you have that in there, take your glue and put a drop on all the joints. And you're good to go. Okay. The bigger rectangle goes immediately aft of there. And that one fits perfectly without any modification. So we're going to go with it. There again, we'll put a drop of glue on all the joints. Getting a little sloppy with my glue. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and fire that off so I don't stick to it. Okay. Let that dry for a second. Now, the two smaller rectangles we're going to glue together to form the top piece. Take the two sides that you just sanded nice and smooth, butt them together, line them up edge to edge, then take your glue, run it along the edge. That'll wick in there pretty good. Fire it off. Okay. Now this piece forms the whole top of it. Okay. What I like to do for the leading edge is sand it at an angle like this. It doesn't take a whole lot. That way, when you line it up there at the leading edge, see how nice that fits? Okay. So once we do that, we're going to line the edge of this sheet up with the leading edge of that rib. And make sure that the sheeting is parallel to the front edge. There. Once we do that, we'll take some glue and get her in place carefully. Got my finger. Let that dry for a second. And then the rest is pretty easy. This 1/16, we select it so that it is easily conformed to it. Now don't worry about this just yet. We're going to sand that, and I'll show you in just a second. For now, you can just go ahead and glue the rest of it in place. Yeah, I got my finger in it. And on the inside, you can see that there's a ledge there. We did that on purpose so that you can glue it just like that. Put a little pressure on it and you're done. Okay, so there's a wing half. The only thing left is some sanding. Because the top rib curves in and is curved along top, the sheeting is going to be a little bit overlapping in the middle. We want to sand the sheeting flush with that rib. Again, it doesn't take very long at all. Nice soft wood. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that we've got our built-in dihedral angle. And I'll show you this trailing edge real quick. The old timers are going to cringe when they see me sanding this direction across the grain, but this is the quickest, easiest way to do this. And if you go slow, it doesn't tear the balsa away. It only takes a few swipes here, as you can see. And you'll know when you just about got it, because you'll start to see some of this edge start to round. But as you can see now, look how nice that is. Okay, that's how you build a wing for the Wii Series constant chord. The wing tips do vary between each one, but we'll try to cover that on each individual video as we build each one. So we're going to pause for a moment and put this other wing half together. Make sure you build a left one if you're following along, because this is the right wing. The center section goes to the middle. So we're going to pause for now, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. Look what I did while we were gone. Build another wing. One thing you want to do is when you sand these is to slightly round the bottom edge just a little bit. It makes the wing fly a lot better. It's still a good wing if you don't do it, but just a little something I always do, and it always works really well. So now we're going to glue the two wing halves together. Use a medium CA. One quick thing, just make sure that you've got the center sheeting sanded smooth to this rib. Do a trial fit to make sure that it fits with no gaps, which it should if you sand it smooth to the rib. So what we're going to generously coat this, including the center sheeting. And it's pretty simple. You just set it on a flat table, line up the leading and trailing edges, and then lift it up until your gap's gone. And got some on my finger. Just hold it for about 10 seconds. The medium Bob Smith glue takes about 10-15 seconds without accelerator. We're going to hold it nice and tight for that entire time, because we don't want it to sag. That's pretty good. Okay. Then what I like to do is just go ahead and put a small bead of medium glue right at the center joint. If there's any little crack at all, it'll flow in there. It'll be okay. Let's go ahead and don't accelerate it, just let it kind of find where it needs to go. This wing doesn't need any kind of fiberglass in the middle or anything like that because of the D-box type construction here, the monocoque. It works just fine. The airplane only weighs 4.5 ounces ready to fly, so you don't need to reinforce it for like you're building a large 60 size pattern plane or anything like that. Okay, now that's settled in there a little bit, we'll go ahead and fire off what's on the outside. Okay. I could take a sanding block and just make sure everything's smooth along the bottom. Don't get too crazy. Don't want to take too much meat away. Just make it smooth. Okay, so there we go. There's the whole wing. If you follow the instructions we just recorded, it should only take you, I don't know, 20 minutes to build the whole wing.